What if I told you that the most dangerous thing that can happen to a young person is getting rich overnight? Not losing money, not failing, but winning way too fast, way too early, with zero preparation. This is the story of Alex, 19 years old, living in a cramped apartment with his mom, working a dead-end delivery job. But every night he would scroll through Twitter, watching people flex cars and watches he could never afford. One night, he stumbled upon something that would change everything. A crypto token called Novacoin. It was worth less than a cent. But something about the community, the hype, the sheer chaos of it pulled him in like a magnet. Alex did what any desperate teenager would do. He took his entire savings, $840 from delivering burritos in the rain, and he went all in. His hands were shaking when he pressed the buy button. For 3 days, nothing happened. The coin dipped another 20%. Alex couldn't sleep. He kept checking his phone every 5 minutes, even during deliveries. His boss yelled at him for being distracted. He didn't care anymore. And then it happened. Day 4. Alex woke up, checked his phone, and nearly fell off his bed. Novacoin had exploded. His $800 was now worth over $41,000 in a single night. He screamed so loud his mom thought someone had broken in. She ran to his room in panic, and he just held up the phone, tears streaming down his face. $41,000. That was more than she made in an entire year. That was the moment everything changed. Not just his bank account. His entire psychology shifted. In his mind, he was no longer Alex the delivery guy. He was Alex the genius, the chosen one. The kid who cracked the code. The first thing Alex did was quit his job. Not with notice, not with respect. He walked into the restaurant, threw his delivery bag on the floor, and said the words he had dreamed of saying for 2 years. I'm out. Then came the spending. Oh, the spending. Alex had never held more than $1,000 in his life. Now he had 40 grand, and he had absolutely no idea how to handle it. So he did what social media taught him to do. He flexed. He bought a used BMW with cash. Not because he needed a car, but because he wanted to pull up to his old high school and watch people's jaws drop. He posted a photo with the caption, "Started from the bottom." The Instagram stories began. Bottle service at clubs he was too young to enter. Designer belts that cost more than his mom's rent. He would post screenshots of his crypto wallet, always when the number was up, never when it was down. His follower count exploded. 5,000, 20,000. Strangers DM'd him asking for investment advice. He started calling himself a crypto expert. The kid who failed high school math was now teaching people about market caps. But here is where the story takes a dark turn. Because Alex didn't just spend his profits. He started borrowing money to invest more. Credit cards, personal loans, even money from friends who believed in his so-called genius. He took out a $30,000 personal loan at 18% interest. He didn't even read the terms. He just saw the number in his bank account and felt invincible. More capital meant more gains, right? That was the logic. He poured it all into more crypto. Riskier tokens this time. Meme coins, dog tokens, anything with a rocket emoji in the bio. His portfolio became a casino, and Alex was convinced he had cracked the system. For a while, it actually worked. The market was in a frenzy. Everything was going up. His 40,000 turned into 80, then 120. Alex felt like a god. He rented a penthouse Airbnb and threw a party that lasted 3 days. But what Alex didn't understand, what nobody had taught him, was that markets don't go up forever. Trees don't grow to the sky. And when the tide goes out, you discover who's been swimming naked. The crash came without warning. Or rather, the warnings were everywhere, but Alex ignored them all. One Tuesday morning, the entire crypto market dropped 30% in 6 hours. His phone wouldn't stop buzzing with liquidation alerts. Alex watched in horror as his portfolio evaporated. 120,000 became 80, then 40, then 15. The leverage he had taken on, the loans he never understood, they were all getting liquidated in real time. By the end of the week, Alex was not just broke, he was in debt. Serious debt. The $30,000 loan, the maxed out credit cards, the money he borrowed from friends. All of it was still there, but the crypto was gone. The BMW was repossessed within 2 months. The designer clothes were sold for a fraction of their price on Facebook Marketplace. The friends who partied with him at the penthouse, they vanished faster than his portfolio did. But the worst part wasn't the money. It was the shame. Alex had to move back in with his mom. He had to explain to his friends why he couldn't pay them back. He had to walk past the same restaurant where he threw his delivery bag on the floor. For 6 months, Alex disappeared from social media completely. No posts, no stories, no flexing. His DMs filled with people asking where the crypto expert went. Some mocked him. Others genuinely worried. He answered none of them. But here is what makes this story different. Alex didn't stay down. In those dark months, living in his childhood bedroom at 22, he started reading. Not Twitter threads, actual books. About money, about investing, about people who built real wealth over decades. He learned about compound interest. Not the crypto kind, the real kind. He learned about cash flow versus capital gains. He learned that the wealthiest people he admired didn't get rich overnight. They built systems that made money while they slept. He got a job, a boring one. Data entry at a logistics company. It paid $18 an hour, and he took it without complaint. Every month, he put aside 20% of his paycheck. Not into meme coins, into a simple index fund. He also started a small YouTube channel, not about crypto calls or get-rich-quick schemes. He told his story, the real one, the rise, the fall, the shame, and what he was learning now. No flexing, no Lambos, just honesty. The first video got 42 views. The second got 100. But the third one, the one where he broke down crying while talking about the day his BMW got repossessed, that one hit a nerve. It got shared thousands of times. People resonated with his story because it was real. Everyone knows someone like Alex. Maybe they are Alex. The kid who got lucky, thought he was a genius, and learned the hard way that luck is not a strategy. Over the next 2 years, Alex rebuilt. Not his portfolio, but his character. He paid back every single friend, even the ones who stopped talking to him. He cleared the credit cards, the personal loan, every dollar with interest. His YouTube channel grew to 50,000 subscribers. Not because he promised riches, but because he promised truth. He interviewed real financial advisors, accountants, people who built boring businesses that made millions over 20 years. He learned the most important lesson of all. Real wealth is quiet. It doesn't post screenshots. It doesn't need validation. The truly rich people he met drove Toyotas, wore plain shirts, and had net worths that would make your jaw drop. 3 years after his collapse, Alex had something he never had during his crypto days. He had a system. A YouTube channel generating steady income, a small index fund portfolio growing quietly, and most importantly, skills that nobody could take away. He wasn't a millionaire, not even close, but he was free. Gandane. Free from debt, free from the need to impress strangers, free from the anxiety of checking charts every 5 minutes. And that freedom was worth more than any pump he ever caught. So here is the question I want to leave you with. If you woke up tomorrow with $100,000 in your account, what would you do? Would you flex it, or would you build something that lasts? Be honest with yourself. Because the truth is, money doesn't change who you are. It reveals who you are. If you're undisciplined with $1,000, you'll be undisciplined with $1 million. The zeros change, but the habits don't. Alex learned this the hard way. He had to lose everything to understand that wealth isn't a number on a screen. It's not a car, it's not a watch, it's not a screenshot. Wealth is having control over your time, your decisions, and your future. So, build your foundation before you chase the moon. Learn about cash, flow. Understand compound interest. Read books, not Twitter threads. And for the love of everything, do not take out an 18% loan to buy something with a dog on it. The boring path is the real path. It's not sexy. It won't get you viral on TikTok. And nobody will slide into your DMs asking how you did it. But 10 years from now, when you're actually wealthy, you won't care about any of that. Alex still thinks about those crazy months sometimes. The penthouse, the BMW, the bottles, the followers. It felt like a movie. But movies end. And when the credits rolled, he was left alone in an empty theater with nothing but lessons. But those lessons were worth more than any coin he ever bought. Because now he knows the difference between being rich and being wealthy. Rich is loud. Wealthy is quiet. Rich spends. Wealthy builds. Rich is a moment. Wealthy is a lifetime. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever felt the pressure to look successful before you actually are, drop a comment below. Tell me your story. Because trust me, you're not alone. And the first step to building real wealth is admitting that you don't have it all figured out. I'm not here to sell you a course or tell you which coin is going to the moon. I'm here to tell you that the slow road works. It's been working for centuries, and it will keep working long after the last meme coin goes to zero. So here's my challenge to you. For the next 30 days, don't check crypto prices. Don't look for the next 100x call. Instead, read one book about money. Track your expenses. Open an index fund account. Build a skill that someone will pay for. Do that for 30 days, and I promise you, you'll be further ahead than 90% of people chasing the next big thing. Because while they're gambling, you'll be building. And building always wins in the end. Thank you for watching this story. It's not just Alex's story. It's the story of an entire generation learning the difference between looking rich and being free. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. See you in the next one. Let me take you back to the beginning. Before the money, before the fame, before the disaster. Alex was just a kid with a cracked iPhone and a dream that felt too big for his tiny bedroom. He wanted out, and he wanted out fast. His mom worked double shifts at a nursing home. She came home with sore feet and a tired smile every night. Alex loved her more than anything, and watching her struggle was a pain he carried with him every single day. That's why the crypto thing hit him so hard. It wasn't just greed. It was desperation wrapped in hope. He genuinely believed he could rescue his mom from a lifetime of struggle. That belief made him blind to the risks. The first month after hitting it big was pure euphoria. Alex walked into an Apple store and bought the newest iPhone with cash. No financing, no payment plan. He just pointed and said, "I'll take it." The employee looked at him like he was crazy. He took his mom to a nice dinner for the first time in his life. Not a fast food joint, a real restaurant with cloth napkins and candles. She cried at the table, not because of the food, but because her son was so proud of himself. These were the good moments, the ones that made it all feel justified. But the problem with easy money is that it feels infinite. And when something feels infinite, you stop respecting it. You stop protecting it. You start treating it like it will never end. By month 3, Alex had developed a lifestyle that required $10,000 a month just to maintain. The car payment, the rent on a fancy apartment he didn't need, the restaurants, the clothes, the image. The image was the most expensive part. He hired a photographer to follow him around for a day. Not for a project, not for a brand. Just for Instagram. They shot him getting out of the BMW, drinking coffee, looking at his laptop. Fake, candid moments, perfectly staged. His old friends from the delivery job started texting him less. Not because they were jealous, but because Alex had become insufferable. Every conversation turned into a lecture about crypto. Every hangout became a flexing session. But Alex didn't notice. He was too busy counting his money and his followers. The numbers were going up, and in his mind, that meant he was going up too. He confused a bull market with brilliance, and that confusion would cost him everything. The first crack appeared when his mom asked him a simple question. She said, "Alex, how much of this money have you saved?" He laughed. He actually laughed at his mother. He said, "Mom, you don't understand. Money is meant to work for you, not sit in a bank." She didn't argue. She just looked at him with those tired eyes and said, "Just promise me you'll be careful." Alex rolled his eyes and said he had it under control. He didn't. He had nothing under control. The market was controlling him. The party at the penthouse was the peak. The absolute summit of Alex's illusion. He spent $8,000 on that party. Bottles, a DJ, catering, the works. He invited everyone he knew and plenty of people he didn't. Strangers were taking selfies in his bathroom. People he had never met were drinking his champagne and posting stories tagging him. He felt like the king of the world. But a rented penthouse and borrowed attention don't make you a king. The next morning, Alex woke up on the penthouse couch with a splitting headache and a notification that would change everything. One of his biggest holdings, a token he had borrowed heavily to buy, had dropped 60% overnight. He stared at the screen, waiting for it to bounce back. They always bounce back, he told himself. He had seen dips before. But this wasn't a dip. This was the beginning of the end, and deep down, in a place he refused to look, he knew it. Over the next 48 hours, Alex made every mistake a panicked investor can make. He sold some coins at the bottom, bought others that were crashing even harder, and took on more leverage trying to make back what he lost. It was financial suicide. By the time the dust settled, Alex had lost not just his profits, but money that wasn't even his. The credit card companies started calling. Then, the loan company. Then his friends. His phone, once a source of validation, became a source of terror. The hardest call was to his friend Marcus. Marcus had lent him $5,000. Not because Marcus was rich, but because he believed in Alex. Marcus worked at a warehouse and had saved that money over 2 years. Alex couldn't pay him back. Marcus didn't yell. He just said, "It's okay, man. We'll figure it out." That was worse than yelling. That kindness, that undeserved grace, it broke Alex more than any angry words ever could. He hung up and cried for an hour. That was rock bottom. Not the money, not the repossession, not the social media humiliation. It was the moment he realized he had betrayed the trust of people who believed in him. That was the debt that hurt the most. The next day, Alex did something that took more courage than any trade he ever made. He walked back into the restaurant where he used to work, the same one where he threw his delivery bag on the floor, and he asked for his job back. The manager, a guy named Tony who had seen it all, looked at Alex for a long moment. Then he said, "You know, I knew you'd be back. Not because you failed, but because you're not afraid to start over." That's worth more than any crypto coin. Alex put the delivery bag back on, the same bag he had thrown on the floor months ago. It felt heavier this time, but not because of the weight. It carried humility now. And humility, it turns out, is the one thing you can't buy with 100x gain. For the first few weeks back on the job, Alex kept his head down. He didn't tell anyone about his crypto past. He just delivered orders, smiled at customers, and went home. At night, instead of checking charts, he opened books. He read a book called The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. One line hit him so hard he had to put the book down. It said, "There is no reason to risk what you have and need for what you don't have and don't need." That was exactly what he had done. He had risked his mom's peace of mind, his friendships, his future, all for things he didn't need. A BMW he couldn't afford. A penthouse he rented for one night. The approval of strangers who forgot him in a week. He started a notebook. Not for trading strategies, but for tracking every single dollar he spent. Coffee, gas, rent, everything. For the first time in his life, Alex knew exactly where his money was going. And that awareness changed everything. Month by month, Alex rebuilt. He paid off the smallest debt first, then the next, then the next. Each payment felt like removing a weight from his shoulders. He wasn't getting rich. He was getting free. And freedom, he realized, was the whole point. A year into his rebuild, something unexpected happened. His YouTube channel, the one where he told his story with raw honesty, started making money. Not life-changing money, but enough to cover his rent. His side hustle was becoming his main thing. Brands started reaching out. Not crypto companies, but legitimate financial education platforms. They wanted Alex to share his story, not as a success story, but as a cautionary tale. He was becoming the anti-guru, and people loved it. He never showed his portfolio on camera. He never promised returns. He just sat in his modest bedroom, with his bookshelf behind him, and talked about what he had learned the hard way. The views kept climbing because the message was real. 2 years after the crash, Alex had paid back every cent of debt. He had a 6-month emergency fund sitting in a high-yield savings account. He had an index fund that he contributed to every single month without fail. Boring, yes, but boring works. He also did something that would have been unthinkable during his crypto days. He opened a Roth IRA. He didn't even know what that was 2 years earlier. Now he was explaining it to his audience, and they were opening accounts too. The most meaningful moment came when he handed his mom an envelope. Inside was the deed to her car, fully paid off. She had been making payments on that car for 6 years. Alex had saved up and cleared it without telling her. She didn't say anything for a full minute. She just stared at the paper, then at her son, then back at the paper. Then she got up, walked around the table, and held him like she used to when he was a little boy. No flex, no followers, no cameras. Just a son and his mom. That moment was worth more than any pump Alex ever caught. Because that wasn't luck. That wasn't a market cycle. That was the result of discipline, patience, and a decision to stop chasing and start building. That was real wealth. Today, Alex is 25 years old. He's not a millionaire. He drives a used Honda Civic. He rents a modest one-bedroom apartment. But he owns his time, he owns his decisions, and he owes nothing to anyone. That is the definition of wealth. He still gets DMs sometimes from kids asking which coin to buy. He always replies the same way. Don't ask me what to buy. Ask yourself what you're building. Because coins come and go, but a system lasts forever. So let me ask you again. If you woke up tomorrow with $100,000, what would you do? Would you be Alex in the penthouse or Alex in the library? The choice is yours. But remember, one path leads to a story you tell for a year. The other leads to a life you build forever. This channel exists to tell stories like this. Not to make you rich overnight, but to help you think differently about money, about risk, about what actually matters. If that sounds like something you need, hit subscribe. Let's build something real together. And one last thing. If you're currently in your own version of Alex's story, if you're in the dark chapter right now, I want you to know something. Rock bottom is not the end of your story. It's the foundation you build the rest of your life on. The people who build the strongest foundations are the ones who have been buried the deepest. Alex was buried under debt, shame, and failure. But he dug himself out, one brick at a time. And if he can do it, so can you. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this story meant something to you, share it with one person. Just one. Because you never know who needs to hear that the slow road is still open, and that it's never too late to start walking it. Before we end, let me share one more thing about Alex that didn't make it into the main story. During his darkest month, when the debt collectors were calling daily, he found an old journal from high school. In it, he had written a single sentence. I want to be someone my mom is proud of. One day, Envied. He read that sentence over and over, and he realized something painful. In his quest to become rich and famous, he had become someone his mom worried about, not someone she was proud of. The flexing, the arrogance, the borrowed money, none of it made her proud. That was the real turning point. Not the market crash, not the repossession, not the humiliation. It was that sentence in a dusty journal, written by a kid who had no idea what was coming. That kid was still in there somewhere, and Alex decided to find him again. So if you take one thing from this video, let it be this. Money amplifies who you already are. If you're generous with $100, you'll be generous with 1,000,000. If you're reckless with 100, you'll be reckless with 1,000,000. The zeros don't change you. They reveal you. Build the person first, then build the wealth. Because wealth, without character, is just a bigger disaster waiting to happen. Alex learned that the hard way. You don't have to. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay curious, stay humble, and for the love of everything, please don't take out a loan to buy a coin with a dog on it. Seriously, don't do it. Let me paint you a picture of the exact moment Alex knew he had lost himself. It was a Tuesday afternoon, and he was standing in a Gucci store, holding a belt that cost $900. He didn't need a belt. He didn't even like the belt. But he bought it because he knew it would look good on Instagram. He walked out of that store and sat in his BMW, staring at the shopping bag. And for just a split second, he felt empty. Not happy, not excited, just empty. But he pushed that feeling down, pulled out his phone, and posted the bag on his story with a fire emoji. That moment, that tiny moment of emptiness that he ignored, was the truth trying to break through. But Alex wasn't ready to listen. He was too deep in the performance. The likes were coming in, and likes feel like love when you don't know what love actually is. This is the part of the story that most finance videos skip. They talk about numbers, charts, strategies, but they don't talk about the hole inside people that makes them chase money. They don't need to impress people they don't even like. Alex filled that hole with likes, with followers, with bottles and BMWs and designer belts. But the hole never got any smaller. Because you can't fill an emotional void with material things. That's not a finance lesson. That's a life lesson. The day Alex finally understood this was the day he stopped being a trader and started being an investor. Not just an investor in markets, but an investor in himself. He invested in knowledge, in skills, in relationships, in his mental health. Those investments never went to zero. And here's the beautiful irony of Alex's story. By chasing less, he ended up with more. More peace, more freedom, more genuine respect. The money came too, slowly and quietly, but by then it wasn't the point anymore. It was just a side effect of becoming a better person. So as we close this story, I want you to look at your own life. What are you chasing? And more importantly, why? Is it for you, or is it for the screenshot? Is it for freedom, or is it for the flex? Be honest. The answer might change everything. This is not just Alex's story. It's a mirror. And what you see in it depends entirely on you. Thanks for watching. Now go build something that lasts. One more chapter before we go. Let's talk about the friends Alex lost. Because money doesn't just change you. It changes the people around you. Some of Alex's oldest friends started treating him differently when he got rich. Not better, just different. Some resented him. They saw his success and felt like failures themselves. Others wanted something from him. Investment tips, loans, connections. And a few, the real ones, tried to warn him. They told him he was moving too fast. He didn't listen. When Alex crashed, those dynamics flipped. The ones who resented him felt vindicated. The ones who wanted things disappeared. And the real ones, the ones who had warned him, they were still there. Not to say I told you so, but to help him get back up. That's another thing they don't tell you about money. It's the world's most effective filter. It shows you exactly who people are. Not who they say they are, but who they reveal themselves to be when the numbers change. Pay attention to who sticks around when the numbers go down. Alex learned that the hard way, but he also learned something beautiful. The friends who stayed, the ones who loved him when he had nothing, and owed everyone. Those friendships became the foundation of his new life. They were worth more than any portfolio. So here is a question worth asking yourself tonight. Who in your life would still be there if you lost everything? And are you treating those people like the treasure they are? Because at the end of the day, the people who love you at zero are the only ones who matter. Alex is 25 now, and he still has dinner with those friends every month. No flexing, no bottles, no cameras. Just good food and real conversations. And he told me once that those dinners feel richer than any penthouse party he ever threw. That's the ending Alex deserved. Not a yacht, not a Lambo, not a million followers. Just a table full of people who loved him before the money and after the fall. That's wealth you can't lose in a market crash. Thank you for staying until the very end of this story. If it moved you, if it made you think, share it. Not for the algorithm, but because someone out there is living their own version of this right now, and they need to know how the story can end. This is the end of Alex's story, but it might be the beginning of yours. Choose wisely, build slowly, and never forget, the goal is not to look rich. The goal is to be free. Wait, before you click away, I need to tell you something that didn't fit anywhere else in this story. Alex almost didn't make it. There was a night, about 2 months after the crash, when he sat in his mom's garage with the car door closed and the engine off, just staring at the wall. He wasn't planning anything. He just didn't want to exist for a while. The weight of the debt, the shame, the disappointed faces, it all pressed down on him until he couldn't breathe. He sat there for 3 hours, in the dark, doing absolutely nothing. What pulled him out wasn't a motivational video or a crypto pump. It was his mom's voice, calling from the kitchen door, asking if he wanted dinner. That simple question, that ordinary moment, reminded him that someone still needed him to exist. He got out of the car, walked inside, and ate his mom's spaghetti. It was the best meal of his life. Not because of the taste, but because he almost wasn't there to eat it. That was the night Alex decided to live. Not just survive, but actually live.